Hey, Ray.
They are. I got a question. I was gonna ask you a question. I just didn't know when I should ask it. Like if it's just about the Oak Street curb cut. Because I know you had recused because you were involved in that or something.
The York Street one?
No, Oak Street.
Oh, for Billy Cassidy?
I don't know. It's that curb cut right
Yeah.
behind. Yeah. I just didn't know where the curb's still in. So I don't want to put the yellow line down until the curb's gone.
I'm sorry. Let me turn up my. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just curious if the curb's coming out because I wasn't going to put the yellow line till the curb came out. And the curb's hasn't been taken out yet. I just didn't know if there was a plan to soon. Or...
I don't know when sort of that transition was supposed to happen. I obviously could check for you. We could talk about it offline if you want.
Yeah, no worries. I just was curious because I drove by again the other day and I'm just starting to get my spring stuff together. That's all. My schedule. No
Ray,
worries.
you're obviously the DPW rep today, yes?
I am. I believe Mo is also supposed to be in too, though.
I think he's probably coming on for the GPI presentation, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, I know.
Or maybe he'll stay for the whole thing. I don't know.
They request. He said he was requested to come on, so he said he'll be on too. So
Okay.
my guess is he will be the representative unless he leaves. Not sure.
I did just get an email from Mickey Rowland saying he might be a little late.
Okay. Hi, John.
Hey, Erica, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Morning, everybody. Doing all right.
Hopefully we'll get a quorum.
That would be nice.
Right now we only have 2 people.
We can hang on until everybody else shows up.
Hopefully somebody from fire will show up. I know they had a pretty big fire they were putting out in the middle of the night. So
I heard about it. I saw it on the news.
yeah.
I guess some problems with hydrants or something. What they said.
That's what I read. Hi, Brian. Hi, Emily.
Good morning.
We're just waiting for hopefully other members to join us.
It's not looking good.
I know. I am gonna mute and turn my camera off and make a couple quick calls.
Do the same.
All right. Unfortunately, I'm only seeing that we still have 2 members. I just tried the fire department and they are busy with this morning's early morning fire. We do have Mickey Rowland that's jumping on right now. So you do actually you have 3 out of 5. Art,
Okay, then I guess
I
we
mean, we
can,
don't have police or fire, unfortunately, but
we haven't had a meeting in a while and I see that we've got
public.
all these folks here, so I am inclined to move ahead. And if there are anything, from police and fire, that we can always defer it to a following meeting. Do you agree with that approach, Erica?
I do, thank you.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Arthur Gasparo. I'm the chair of the Traffic Safety Work Group. And I will call to order the February 16th, 2023 meeting. Please note that this meeting is being conducted remote participation via Zoom and is being audio video recorded. Please take care not to screen share your computer. That anything may be captured by the recording. The meeting will be aired at a later date on the Town of Nantucket YouTube channel. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. Please take care to speak through the chair and speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. And with that, I'll call the meeting to, I think I already called the meeting to order. Is there any public comment for items that are not otherwise on the agenda? Please feel free to wave your virtual hand or wave at the camera. I am not seeing any. So we will move on to item 1 of first of official business. To review the traffic common design for the plans for the reconstruction of Lovers Lane, Orkawar, and Monahans Road. And I'll turn it over to the consultants for GPI.
So Art, I just want to let you know that we've got John Osorio, Brian Myers, and Emily Doty from GPI here. John, do you want to share your screen or do you want me to do it?
I can share my screen.
Okay.
Hopefully you see. Let me see. Let me know if you all see that.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you, John.
Well, thank you all for seeing us today. And Erica, I wasn't sure if we should go into a little bit of, kind of a project overview as a whole, how much we all know about the Surfside area transportation improvement.
Yeah, why don't we just give a very brief synopsis of that?
Sure. So hopefully you're seeing my Google Maps.
Yep.
So just an oversight of the Surfside area roadways. It's Lovers Lane. The improvements are from Lovers Lane from Boulevard to Old South Road, Orkawa for the entire length from Lovers Lane to Monahans, and then Monahans Road from Orkawa Ave to the airport entrance. The improvements as a whole is a 22-foot paved road, just 2 lanes, 1 in each direction, and then a side path on one side of each one of those segments. What we're talking about today is traffic calming along these segments of road. We've submitted to date 25% plans for all 3 roadway segments. We're advancing to final design. And we had a public meeting, and one of the things that we heard from the public hearing was concerns about speeding along Lovers Lane, one today as a gravel road, and even more concern once it's completely paved. So there are 3 locations that we are proposing some sort of traffic calming. The first location being at the intersection of Lovers Lane and Orkawa. And what we're proposing here is really just, again, it's 10-foot lanes. We're proposing a raised or it's a mountable raised median island. So what you're looking at here is we have Lover's Lane going left to right, which is north and south. We have a side path on the west side of Lover's Lane. As you're crossing White Street and approaching Orcoa Ave, we are proposing a crossing across Lover's Lane to connect to the Orcoa Ave side path, which is on the south side of the road. What we're proposing here is a raised median to kind of slow down traffic at this location. Part of the concerns is also, vehicle movements. We're anticipating that, larger vehicles will also be needing to make turns from Orcoa Ave to Lover's Lane or back and forth as they're going to the airport. So for that reason, we are proposing a mountable raised island. At the moment, we have what we're showing is a vertical curve with a 3-inch reveal, although we have different options for the type of curbing. In the past for a mountable island, we have used what you may see a lot on a roundabout is they call it a T100 curb. It's a slanted granite curb that can be used at this location as well. What we're really trying to avoid, we see around the island a lot of these being used as flush, but for traffic calming purposes, we don't think that would be the best use of trying to slow vehicles down. So again, the purpose here is traffic calming while also trying to accommodate vehicle turns. So we're still evaluating whether that would be a vertical curve with a low reveal, 2 to 3 inches, or if it's a slanted granite curb. The surface of the median, we're proposing cobble, as we have seen on other areas around the island.
Now, are we talking cobble, like cobblestones, or Belgian block?
Belgian block.
Okay.
Yeah. We did this. You may be familiar with Milestone Road at Monomoy and at Tom Nevers. However, those are flush. And again, for traffic calming purposes, we feel that it would be best to have some kind of raised.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You have a crosswalk going through the median, and you're saying that the crosswalk will be the Belgian block material?
The median island will be the Belgian block material. The crosswalk is just on pavement. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it won't be, the crosswalk won't go over Belgian block?
No.
No,
Okay, it's for wheelchair ADA issues.
correct.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions on this location?
I guess I would just like to understand, there are speed concerns, I guess, at a lot of locations. I mean, what is the driver of this? Are we sure this is a fairly unusual arrangement for intersections on Nantucket, especially at a T intersection. So, is it really needed is one question, right? And the other is, if it is going to go forward, certainly the T100. I think if you go with a vertical curb there with the turning movements, you're going to end up with blowouts. I think you'd really have a problem with a vertical, sharp edge on that. But I'm still at the point of also, like I say, it's fairly unusual, and given that it's sure there's going to be an increase in traffic, but I'm wondering where the driver of where this came from.
So we have heard, we've been involved with the project for the past about 4 years now, and I think the main concern that we have heard from residents is speeding. That's probably the main concern on most of our projects. But it's been that's really been the driver. We've been tasked to look at ways to slow down traffic along this stretch of road. Lover's Lane, as shown in the aerial. It's just over a mile of just a straight road. And we have identified 3 locations, which I'll get into the other 2, but that one that we just showed was at Orkawa. We also have one in the middle of the state forest. It's a rugged road, it's a private road. And then one towards Nancy Ann Lane, which I'll get into as well.
Okay, well, keep going, and then we can, I guess the question is it, when you have that long of a stretch of a straight road, is this gonna really, at the intersection, make a significant difference, and create a bit of a unusual, I guess I would say, layout and situation, but I'm not necessarily opposed. I just sort of wanted to make sure that I understand when we run through the rest of them.
Art,
Yeah,
I just want to make one note too, that I've been part of the group that's been reviewing these on a weekly basis. And I had raised concerns about a straight curb, also with the super sharp curbing. And so I've supplied GPI with the specs of the curbing that we're using for the 3rd sewer force main, which has a more, I don't even know what we call it, but like a little bit of a rounding edge on the curb, so it's not so sharp and blowouts. We've also discussed that this is a route for house moves, and that island, while it's supposed to be slowing people down, also will probably need to be mounted during house moves. And I actually was the one that I think suggested the slanted curbing, similar to what we have in the triangles, like at the Sparks Ave roundabout. So we're looking at different things.
yep. Please feel free. Anybody else have anything further on this one? Why don't you run through the other ones, John? Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I had one other question, which is you've mentioned 10-foot travel lanes and we have as a work group reviewed these plans in the past, and they are the entire road system that you're proposing, if I understand it correctly, is going to have Cape Cod berms, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And is the 10-foot lane gutter to gutter with the berms on the outside of that?
And forgive me, Emily or Brian, did we go from 24 to 22, or did we go from 22 to 20?
We went from, we did have 22 feet of pavement. And then based on input we got from one of the select board meetings, we went down to the 20 feet total of pavement.
So I think that there may be, I'm not sure that everybody understands when you talk about travel lanes, and I saw that one meeting and I didn't think it was clear. I think that should be revisited. You're really talking about a 9-foot travel lane, if that's what you're talking about. If you're talking about 20 feet of asphalt with a foot, or 10-inch whatever Cape Cod berm on both sides, that's not really part of the travel lane.
No.
And I think that has to be clarified. You're now reducing this road to 18 feet wide, 9-foot travel lanes for the kind of traffic that I think you're going to see in the size of the vehicles. I strongly feel that this should be as you've sort of put out there, even starting this presentation, that it's 10-foot travel lanes.
Right, and it is gutter to gutter 20 feet. And we have actually, since that comment from the select board to really reduce the roadway width, we strongly suggest having the white sideline striping as well. Out there currently there isn't sideline striping, it's the center line. But it would be beneficial to have that white striped on the side. And we were proposing to do that 6 inches off of the gutter. So you have about 9.5 feet, but you are correct. That is a very narrow road. Again, I think the goal, the desire is traffic calming, and they're trying to find all ways that they can try to provide that.
And still keep it with a rural feel.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think that, so I'm not following, you're saying. If you're gonna pay, which is it? Is it 10-foot travel lanes plus Cape Cod berms for overall 22 feet? Or is it overall paved 20 feet with a foot of Cape Cod berm on both sides and a 9-foot travel lane?
No, it's a 20-foot paved road, not including the Cape Cod berm. We don't include berm as part of the.
Perfect, thank you. That's okay. So to be clear, you'd essentially pave 22 feet wide and put a berm on both sides and maintain. And that's what's drawn here.
That's what's drawn here, correct.
Is there a detail you could bring up? Cross section?
Sure, I'll have Brian kind of get that ready, the whole.
Okay,
And
I do have that, John, actually right here, from our PowerPoint presentation. I think from one of the select board
you want to share it?
meetings here. Yeah, if I can. Give me a second here.
I mean, I do think 11-foot travel lanes would have been better, but I understand the feel and I followed the other discussion, and if it's 10, I think that it could serve the purpose, but if it's going to 9, which as long as we're clear, that's not the case.
No.
And a gutter to gutter is gonna be 10, I think it would be okay, is my sense. But I don't want to see any confusion.
There we go. So can you see my screen here?
No,
Oh, okay. Apologize. I have to hit enter or something. Ask me 1, 2, or 3. Screen share. Okay.
There you go.
What are you seeing?
do you have any questions?
Okay,
Looks like maybe we
perfect.
want to look at number
That's the one.
11.
Yeah.
So.
It's this one right here. Here, let me pull it up.
Okay, so you have it in
There you
that,
go.
so I saw that on that, but you don't have it on your actual plans yet.
We do. It's just that the plan that I had displayed is really just traffic calming plans. We don't have the
Okay.
whole set up,
Okay,
but we can certainly bring up the whole set and I'll do that well.
all right, I just want to make sure that, because I thought the discussion at the select board level wasn't, quite clear. If this is, and I saw, it felt like there was changes sort of being made on the fly a little bit, and if this is, what you're gonna build, I'll stop there. I think we're on the same page. As long as that's, in fact the case, a gutter to gutter 20-foot width, I think will, be less than ideal from some respects, but balancing out other concerns, I can understand that. So, thank you. If you want to move on to the traffic calming, that would be great.
Sure. And if you want to see set of plans, we certainly can provide those to you for the full.
I'll look on the next set. That's fine. If you guys are working on it, we're good.
Okay. All right, you should be seeing traffic calming back up,
Yeah, we're still at Orkawa.
Orkawa and Lovers.
Yeah.
So we're switching over now to Lovers Lane at Rugged Road. So what we're proposing along at this location is really a raised intersection or a raised table. There's different terminology for it. I'm not sure if there's a location on the island for a full raised intersection. I believe you do have a raised crosswalk at one location that I've seen on the island, or speed humps, which are completely different than this.
Yeah,
Um,
we have tables at the school.
Okay. So, this is ramping up to a, about 4 to 6 inch raised intersection. The whole intersection would be raised, including the crossing of the path along Lovers Lane. Once you get into Rugged Road, it dips right back down to existing grade, and then we tie back into a gravel road along Rugged Road. Rugged Road is a complete gravel road. It's a private road. It connects over to the Camp Richards driveway, and then I believe it continues further west.
I
Um,
don't know that I'd call that a gravel road, but
That's what they call dirt roads.
Dirt road?
it's a dirt road.
Dirt
I know,
road.
but they call them gravel roads. It's fine.
So yeah, if you're not familiar with a raised table, let's see if I have one up. This is a little bit more of an urban location, but it's, as you can see, it ramps up to level with the sidewalk or the surrounding area of the intersection. The intersection is also all raised, again, with the intent of slowing vehicles down as they approach this location. Getting back to the plans, that was one form of traffic calming, pretty much at the center of Lover's Lane, cutting Lover's Lane in half there, between distances between Boulevard and Old South Road.
Is the surface going to remain asphalt, or will that change to a different paving material?
Well, the recommendation would be ideally to have a different material so that you can really see that this is, so to truly work, once the striping goes away, you don't want vehicles to be approaching this too fast. And ideally, we do lock this in with a different material. That could be brick, it could be Belgian block, locked in maybe with some flush granite. And then, the ramp up is certainly asphalt, and then there is striping and signage associated with the raised intersection. So similarly, you can see here, they used some kind of brick paver locked in with granite, flush granite. This isn't the best location or the best image of it, and this is a little bit much more urban than we're talking about, but this is the idea.
So at this location, I guess I'm very familiar with this spot. I mean, I was there at 8 o'clock last night. And I'm wondering about your alignment, which is, sort of acute in terms of the road coming in, and I think it would be a better layout if that was to be more, if you were to shift that essentially the alignment to the right on the screen or to the north, so that your intersection was more at a 90-degree angle. And what I would point out to you is that as the road narrows further after your proposed improvements, it's a single lane, and vehicles essentially have to wait to see the other vehicle to be able to figure out who can then go next. And I get that that's probably beyond the scope of what you're doing in terms of, that rutted out section of Rugged Road is, I don't know, it's maybe 11 feet wide, I'm thinking, or so, right? Right in
Close to
there.
10.
And you can see from your contours that it's sunk in 2 feet, right? So it's not an area that vehicles can pull off to the side to let someone else pass and repass. And, on that basis, essentially going back to the Camp Richard entrance, one vehicle's got to pull over and one vehicle's got to pull over at the beginning and, wait for the other one to go. And the way you're shifting this, I don't think that's gonna work very well. People aren't gonna see. I think you're gonna have it's gonna create and there's an awful lot of traffic on that one section at certain times, right? I get that this isn't Rugged's not a heavily trafficked road, but the camp sees a lot of use, and there's drop off and pickup times for, say, the scout meetings and people that are coming and going at the same time. And I think that if you could find a way to, if possible, given that you're already talking to the I guess it's through the state forest for the easement for the path, if you could move the path over as well and have the easement come down along that line, straighten that intersection out, right? I think you'd have a much better design and it would function, you know, again, the way you have this kind of angled and people taking it, if you were to bring that in more at a 90-degree angle, shift the whole thing over, I think it would be safer, and also function much better. Did you follow sort of what I was explaining?
I think so. Rugged Road today is basically
Here.
a straight line right here
Yep.
along the
Mhm.
baseline.
Mhm.
And you're asking if we could follow that alignment a little bit better, or follow that alignment pretty much.
Right, I think it would work much better if you were to do that, and then also where you increase the your improvements to the 20 feet wide, which I think is great and needed for that very reason. But if you were able to straighten that out a bit, right, so that you had more of a, you know, you had less of an acute angle to the intersection of with Lovers, and it was squared up better, I think people would be less likely to it would slow them down.
So just a couple of things to note that I was drawing here is we are a bit restricted. So right now, the Rugged Road, dirt road is basically hugging the right side of the layout. And it's a private layout. We have DCR on the right to the north, and then we have Camp Richards on the left and to the south. The struggle that we were having, what we were trying to accommodate here, is we do need to fit the side path along Lover's Lane at this intersection takes a turn up Rugged Road and then will continue through the state forest. There's an existing dirt path through the state forest that we're looking to improve as a paved path all the way through. So the side path will no longer continue along Lover's Lane, and it will continue through the state forest. So to accommodate that, we needed to pull this side path outside of DCR property to not require any, we can't have any easements off of DCR property. It's an Article 97 protected, resource, which, they wouldn't not allow an easement. Now, what they are allowing with the kind of a re-enhancement of an existing trail is they've come to an agreement with the town on maintenance of that specific trail. So they wouldn't allow a new trail, but they would allow enhancement of an existing trail. So that's the reason why this is somewhat shifted, and then we have to tie back in. Just to give you a little bit of an idea.
No, I understand, and you've answered my question. I can see the distinction. I'm familiar with the trail.
Yeah.
I was curious as to, on that same basis, if that shared use path along Rugged could run on to the DCR land, but I understand Article 97 restrictions and
Yeah.
the distinction that's probably in play. So I guess the other question would be to cross Rugged straight across and then put the crossing there off of the intersection. And I could see where that's got its pros and cons, if you will, in terms of its, probably from a safety perspective, better to have it at the intersection, but maybe not in this particular case. I guess we should just talk about that a little bit. What if you were to have that crossing where the path is right now? It looks like that's how you maybe had it drafted before.
Yeah, you see the dark red
Yeah.
line is our original concept.
Yeah,
Again, and I'll backtrack a little bit here, just to give you a little more info on where we were. We actually didn't learn that Rugged Road was a private road till recently. I think Erica pointed that out to us. Thank you, Erica. And with the knowledge of that being a private road, potentially requiring more of an easement if we're going to push the path up Rugged Road. And then additionally, wanting to provide some kind of traffic calming, we pulled everything tight to Lover's Lane so that the crossing is within the Lover's Lane layout, which is a public layout that would require maintenance from the town. Now, that's not to say that we couldn't revisit the other the other design. But certainly there might be some discussions of easement language and maintenance and things like that. Mostly with Camp Richards. So
I
I'm
kind
not
of
sure
like
if that's
Art's
really-
original plan. I mean, I like Art's idea in the original plan of having the crossing back further, and that straightens out the intersection too.
Yeah, I think you might want to revisit that. And again, if you zoomed out just a little bit and you look at how what you're drawing is going to tie back in, I don't think that's going to work very well with the two-way traffic that has to be accommodated up in there versus if you flip-flop it back to how you had it. And who knows, maybe there's a aspect of this that you do the town maybe considers a taking of just the 80 feet or whatever that, or 100 feet maybe of rugged, just the very end of that layout. Can imagine it probably would be a friendly type of a taking, abutting Camp Richard and DCR, right? It's not, I don't know. I think if for the scope of what we're proposing and the long-term improvements, I think it's better to get this intersection as ideal as possible,
Sure.
as opposed to not because of a potential easement or maintenance issue for a very short stretch of road.
Yeah, and that said, there was some recent agreement between Camp Richards and the town, and the only plan that they have seen is the dark line. So our previous,
And I think you might be on that dark line plan, pull that bike path a little further to the perhaps consider just a bit further to the south, and still straighten that intersection and give yourself the ability to bring that intersection more at a 90-degree angle, and then switch back. Because like I say, right now, I think when you're angled like that, and I'll probably have to do that, it's just going to, people tend to go a little faster around the corner in that one direction, sort of, I don't want to say on ramp, but anyway, I think, but in terms of what you're showing us for the raised intersection concept, I'm fully supportive. Just want to open it up to the whole work group, but I think this intersection should be revisited in terms of alignment.
if I could just ask one, just your thoughts on. Typically, what we would want to see is the crossing within the raised intersection. Why is that? Vehicles are going slower. They're already cautious because it's a raised intersection, so now they're slowing down for any pedestrians crossing. If we move the crossing further west, we may want to rethink that and really concentrate on just the raised intersection right at the immediate intersection, and not so much at the bike crossing. Now that takes into effect, we have to factor in, the safety of crossing 100 feet away from the intersection and how we handle that. Now, it is just a dirt road and there isn't a lot of traffic, so maybe there isn't that much of a concern, but I just want to point all that out so we think that through.
I agree with you there. I think you would put the raised portions, limit that to the road, and then make sure, there's good sight lines and distances there that are crossing further back as the road narrows. That's your traffic calming,
Yep.
I think, and safety aspect at that location, because it's it's where you're going to start to throw down that road to meet the dirt road, gravel road, if you want.
Right, and this crossing right now, as was shown previously, is really a one lane. We would want to consider that.
Yeah, and I think that you probably would be widening it out, but if you straighten that out, it's sort of right where it probably would be where it is, throating down, reducing in width from your, your 2-lane to your 1-lane, which in of itself, I think creates the narrowing, would likely create a safer point of crossing.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
So would you,
Anybody else have anything they wanted to add on this? Okay, why don't we move on?
so you want to see us revisit this crossing of?
Yeah, again, that's just my input as one. We're not, I mean, I don't know that we want to, unless you want us to take a vote. I take it that this is still, you said, I think 25% design. So I hope that there's, room for adjustments based on our input. Obviously, we're just an advisory group to the town manager. I can't give you, any direction in terms of, because that's my suggestion. That's, certainly not what you have to do. I would just hope you took that under advisement. And those are sort of comments, I think, in terms of what you might end up with. I'm hoping to head off, obviously, a situation of post-construction. Why did this isn't working as well as it could, and why did it get built that way?
Right, and just to give everybody, where we are on the project, we are actually moving to final design. So at some point, we will need direction on which way we move forward. So we already have the two concepts. The original.
But this is new. I don't think this is new.
The red line is the new idea for this location versus the 25% design that's underneath.
Yeah.
So, looking at this just a little more carefully, the advantage that I see to this design, and I hadn't thought of it earlier, but is the people are coming down the bike path from the right side of your screen, the north. They might just tend to fly across the rugged road intersection without stopping. Whereas the new design forces them to take the curve exactly and then cross. It's kind of a zigzag.
Yep.
So, I mean, I agreed with Art earlier, and I liked the intersection as you drew it in the black, but I kind of see a little bit of maybe a safety concern for bikers not flying through across that street, forcing the curve. So there's two ways of looking at it.
That was a bit of our concern as well, Mickey. Coming from the south, again, they are crossing at a raised location, so vehicles are a little bit more cautious there, and they have slowed down, and we are only talking about rugged road. But still, that's a concern, I think, all over the island, right? There's concerns about folks guarding out and crossing these intersecting roads.
Yeah.
I guess I would offer, if you're going to stay with this layout, I still think it probably should change, but I still, if you are going to stick with it, I would suggest perhaps trying to do a bit of a rotation, if possible, for say the first 80 feet or something, so that it's more like that. And then maybe you have to lengthen the improvements a little bit further into rugged to create a bit of an S-turn to connect back into what's there. But I think that again, if this was more, if you decrease that acute angle, it's going to, something more like that, and maybe it's got to carry on a little further. I mean, you might want to carry that 90 degree to where that crossing is going to happen, I think my recommendation would be what we've already discussed, but if you're going to stick to this, I would think that it might be better to look at that a little bit closer.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Okay, why don't we move on to the next one?
Next location is right before Nancy Ann. Again, we've heard concerns about speeding. We've also heard that between Rugged Road and Old South Road, we weren't originally providing anything for traffic calming. So we identified the intersection or in the vicinity of Nancy Ann Lane as a potential location. We provided two options here. One is very similar to Lover's Lane at Orkowa. It's a raised mountable median. The difference here is there is no crosswalk in between it. Again, the purpose of slowing vehicles down as they're entering kind of a more neighborhood setting. we need to make it mountable in case there are any heavy vehicles, larger vehicles taking the left. But the other option to that, to not have that kind of an odd layout, as you had mentioned for Orkawa, is to just shift it further down. We're not concerned too much about this. Would be a full raised 6-inch reveal vertical curb. It could be a grass median. It doesn't need to be Belgian block. Or plantings, doesn't have to be grass either. And again, for the purpose of, there is a vertical element in the middle of the road, kind of slowing vehicles down as they're at this location. So they're entering kind of the neighborhood, or, they're in between Rugged Road and Nancy Ann or Old South Road. The two options at this location, one, we have to consider vehicles, mounting. And we would probably use the same curb material, maybe the T100. Again, I believe that's a 3 or 4 inch reveal, but it's a sloped curb.
I guess from a consultant's perspective, would you recommend option 1 or 2?
Well, for ease of not dealing with having to mount it, we would go with option 2. It would create a bit of a gateway into a neighborhood. This is all kind of commercial, industrial over here, and then once you get past Nancy Ann, it's residential on the state forest.
I can see that. Anybody else? Any
So
thoughts?
option 2 has a vertical curb edge to it.
Option 2 has a vertical, we can go 4 to 6 inch, and it could be landscaped.
Seems the curb concerns me a little bit, if it could be more of a rounded rather than a sharp edged curb, or I don't know.
We can go sloped edging curb, which is what Erica had recommended. You see that on the Sparks Ave, Splitter Islands, the outside of the roundabout.
That would be my recommendation as well. I think that the vertical in the middle of the road is trouble.
Me too.
But I guess I would lean towards option 2 based on, you made a very good point. I think it could be kind of a nice feature. You could still plant it, like you say, there's some taller trees, anything that doesn't block visibility though.
Right, option 1, we wouldn't be able to plant because again, the intent would be
Mountable. Yeah.
And with option number 1 also, you'd be potentially creating more noise as people need to mount that. I'm just thinking landscaping trailers that might come out of Nancy Ann Lane to turn left. I keep thinking in my head, build it and they will come. Right now, this road doesn't get a huge amount of use because of the state it's in. But once it's a beautiful new paved roadway, especially a straightaway, I think it's going to have more traffic. And this is, right at Nancy Ann to the, what are we looking, south?
Yeah.
Left?
East.
That is the
Richmond.
residential area, and I would just be worried about, the constant noise of trailers and things kind of mounting that and
Okay.
creating a ruckus.
It seems like consensus, it would be option 2 with the sloped curb.
Yeah, and as far as the landscaping, you really can't put trees in there if that's going to be a route for house moves, right?
Too
One
narrow
thing
for
that-
trees.
One thing that I just wanted to point out, or no, when Richmond put in the medians on Old South Road, and they had these, planting plans, and they put in trees and things like that, which is great. I had seen this thing where in Europe in the medians, they plant like areas for bees, or, just like kind of like wild a little bit, something that doesn't need water, doesn't need to be mowed a lot. And maybe we think about something like that here,
Yeah, the other issue with trees, of course, is these type of things is, depending on, you gotta be careful on the species for respect to the roots, then damaging your brand new infrastructure and road in, 5 or 8 years. But again, probably we could leave that to, I think probably had a layout issue, so. If nobody has anything further, it sounds like the consensus. would be-
Actually, Maureen Coleman said that she has her hand raised and is waving, although I don't see it raised, but Maureen.
Yeah, when the screen is shared, it's difficult for me to see. But please.
People should just speak up.
Ms.
Okay,
Coleman.
good morning. It's Maureen Coleman, and I live at the corner of Nancy Ann and Lovers Lane. And I can attest to the volume of traffic and making that left off of Nancy Ann from a number of landscaping companies that are behind me. And I just want to reiterate that the noise level would be more helpful if we're down to option 2, because that is a vacant lot. And it would be from this drawing, it would be a difficult left turn from those trucks that are coming, whether it be Cape Cod Express or landscapers. And there's a number of other businesses back on Gregland that make the left turn down Lovers Lane off of Nancy Ann.
Thank you, Ms.
And
Coleman. I think we're all in agreement.
Great,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything further? Okay. Was there anything further on this project?
There's 2 more locations. I'll try to go quickly. I know you have a longer meeting, but let me just show you. Monahanset is another location that we were looking at, that we've heard speeding is an issue, particularly around this curve. I assume it's coming from the north, although it could be both sides, but this is a short segment between Okra and the curve. Erica, you may know best what the problem is here.
Oh,
And
it's sketchy.
sketchy. Good word. I know being out there taking pictures, I had to watch my back quite a bit at this corner, at this curve. So, and also coming out of Webster Ave, it's on the inside of the curve, sight distance is a bit of an issue. So to address that, we have, this is the intersection of Webster Road and Monahanset Road. One option is to, again, I'm not sure it's completely necessary, but it would be a raised intersection at this location as well. But even more importantly would be sightline easements that we're working on. So try to clear some of this vegetation and have easement rights to be able to continue to clear it so that folks that are coming out of Webster will have the appropriate sight distance at the intersection. But again, in trying to slow vehicles down as they're crossing Webster and approaching the curve along Monahanset, we have the option of a raised intersection here, or again, a vertical element, which would be a raised landscaped island as we're approaching the curve on the north side of the curve. Now, the concern here, or what else would be needed to accommodate this, is that there would be easements required from the abutting properties. So the options are, we either have a raised intersection or raised median that requires easements, or a raised intersection at Webster, and then the sightline easements is highly recommended, as there is very poor visibility coming out of Webster.
Okay, thank you. I'll jump on this one and then open it up. Sightline easements, without a doubt, whatever it's gonna take there to get those in place, I think are desperately needed. I don't think you need a raised intersection there personally. I think the sight lines are really the issue there. Work group members, any further thoughts or agreement on that?
I guess maybe related to this is looking back at the Okra intersection where you've got the curb islands and things like that. Was there a consideration for just doing a raised section back at Okra rather than the curved islands? Does the raised
I was gonna go to that one next, Nikki.
Well, I'm talking about the first one we talked about, the original first intersection, Okra and Lovers,
Oh,
Yeah,
going back to that.
we can certainly revisit a raised intersection at that location. We had come up with various options and working with the transportation planner at the time, we came up with different options at different locations, but we can certainly go back to a raised intersection at that first location.
It just seems a lot simpler, and I don't know if it's as effective at traffic calming, but if it helps, then maybe.
right. Versus the amount of that other, I would agree with that. The island there, that was sort of my initial reaction when I asked sort of what, why I think that it's quite unusual and
Yep.
Versus if you were to have a bit more consistency too through the project. In other words, that you're going to have a raised intersection at Rugged. And then, you have the other one near Nancy Ann, which is the island, but that's a whole different sort of a feel. Like you say, that's kind of like, going into the neighborhood and it is on a straightaway. But then at Orkawar and Lovers, a raised intersection without the island. I agree. I think that might be a better option there to serve the traffic calming without getting into the complexity and difference, I think, in terms of general layout around the island of having something like the island. And then, so are we in agreement? We probably don't need a raised intersection here. I don't see the need for it there personally, but. That's
Yeah,
just-
we would be in agreement with you as well. We were trying to come up with some type of solution for the speeding around the curve.
Now here, I think the island here, I understand there's a bit of the speeding, but I guess I also wonder if, hopefully the bike path is gonna open with a multi-use path, shared use path now. Is going to, terminology seems to always be in flux here, but that's going to open up the sight distances quite a bit there coming around that curve. And I don't know, I'm not opposed to this, but I think it's a little odd.
Yeah,
personally. I understand there's only so many options. Again, I would say not opposed personally, but having to get easements and changing things here, I mean.
Yeah, without doing something, I would say this is a bit drastic because you need easements.
Yeah.
Plus, you don't typically see a median just popping out of nowhere.
That's where I'm coming from on it
Yeah.
too. You come around a corner and then there's something like this. I don't know that I would particularly support this.
But other than that, the only tools that we have are signage, which we tend to get a lot of pushback on the island as well. And certainly, protecting this corner a bit more with maybe some timber rail and some reflectors, something to visually be able to see it at night.
I think this is a good location for additional signage and we are sensitive to it, but a corner like this, I think that would be the way to go personally.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I would think that just the curve itself, I don't travel that road very often, but I mean, doesn't the traffic slow down just because of the curve anyway? Or is it
I
still-
travel it a lot and people, the part of it is I think there is a speed factor there that happens, but I don't know that just plopping an island right next to the curve is the best, real solution there. I think once this whole thing gets fixed up, it's just gonna have to be another one that is, better patrolled, honestly.
We had suggested some again, I don't think we've done this anywhere on the island, but electronic signage that tells you how fast you're going.
Yeah, no, I don't want to get tarred and feathered.
Figured I'd throw it out there, but we've looked at all these options and trying to accommodate whatever we can at this
Right.
point.
Okay,
So that's
what else?
that's all the locations. Sounds like we're going to go back to revisiting a raised intersection at Orcoa and Lovers. And we can, once those are ready, we can share that with the group. And we'll update everything based on what we've come to an agreement with here and just get a kind of an approval or concurrence that's how everyone would like to move forward.
Okay, sounds good. Erica?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, John. And thank you, Brian and Emily too, for coming on and reviewing these with all of us.
Yeah, much appreciated, all your efforts. This project I've been a supporter of this for a lot of years and I'm really excited. I think at one point I actually spoke at a select board meeting and, I think I said along the lines of, I can't imagine being in the back of an ambulance on that road. So just to tell you how much and like I say, I do travel it fairly regularly and it's, this is a long time coming. So thank you.
Yeah, we've been on this for a while and are excited to see it carry it through the final design and fingers crossed that it gets funded and we can keep this thing moving.
Okay, thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we're going to move on to item number 2, which is to address pedestrian safety concerns at Myacomet Ave and Surfside. And Ms. Browse, I see that you've been waiting patiently for this. I wasn't sure that we were going to keep this on. We, have lost our traffic. Our transportation planner. So I don't think anything really has come out for final changes that maybe we could implement here. You're certainly welcome to speak. I appreciate it. I'm sorry we took so much of your time to get to that, but I don't know honestly what we really have to and how we would implement something like this without a transportation planner to help us usher it through. And I defer to anything you want to add, and then maybe Ms. Mooney might have something to add to that.
No, I don't. You said what I was thinking.
What happened with the plans that he presented at that last meeting? Are those feasible at all?
Yeah, I think that they had some real merit, but they were going to have to get taken to a further design, as well as I think working probably through NPDC / they're going to need some engineering to some funding and someone to really drive that forward. And hopefully we can get that position filled, the town can get that position filled, and maybe we can. I certainly agree with and appreciate everything you brought forward. I want to see it happen. I just don't know there's a way forward for implementation with the current staffing situation.
Hey,
Gotcha.
Art, this may be just oversimplifying the issue, but during that previous conversation, we talked about just plain narrowing down the intersection by digging up some asphalt and doing, more planting in that area. And is that something that requires all this? I think that would help a lot. It would slow things down, people going through that big wide intersection. Isn't that something that maybe the DPW could just do that?
So can I comment on that?
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody knows that we no longer have a DPW director in place. He resigned this week. We are also trying to hire a town engineer. That is still a vacant position. And I think until we have some of those positions filled that can make the engineering decisions on that, this is probably going to be on pause.
Understandable. I know it sounds simple to just go spray paint a line and rip that out, but who's making that? Who's doing that and making that decision, and who owns that? I think it sounds like the chain is a little broken at this point for that to be able to happen, but that the town is diligently, there's current advertisements to fill positions, and they're trying to get it done. I think we're just going to have to, hopefully keep it on our radar, and as soon as we get some folks in place that we can do this without getting into years in terms, at least my thinking is along the keep it simple approach to try it, that we could, but I still think that there's the need for some real, professional oversight of that work, that the structure isn't currently in place for that.
I will note though, sorry to interrupt you again, Meg. And I think I noted it last time. We do have, we just had the Surfside Sewer project kind of wrap up in that area. We do have the third sewer force main project coming through. The roadway will be repaved. And you know, I would be interested in showing Patrick's sketch plan to that design team and see if it, I mean, if it's not within the scope of the sewer project, I don't know if it can be added, but it's something to talk about on that end too.
And I just have two additional thoughts for you. One being, I know we talked about the Reese parking lot and how they have those two yellow like horse divider, like, you know what I'm talking about, right? The little fences.
Yeah.
They have those set up in a way so that there's about 3 or 4 parking spots for cars right at the beginning of the road. So people are parking there, especially in the summer for Yummies, but also just people in the neighborhood are parking there now. And those 4 cars being parked there, I think has a lot to do with what makes that intersection so dangerous for kids, because not only are people pulling in and out from so many different areas, but they're pulling into park and then they're backing out to park to get out of their parking spot. I mean, it's chaos when you go down there. So if there's any way we could talk to Reese just about their use of that area and pull those fences closer to the bike path so that they encompass that entire lot for their parking rather than separating the parking out like that, so that you can't pull in and park. Do you know what I'm saying? You guys, you all know this like little section. If there's any way we can
you're absolutely right. I just don't know how to, how do we approach that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think the people who are parking in front of the fences are, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it is Reese, right? Reese's.
Well, I have to look at a plan for that to make sure that that is in fact part of his land.
And I'm not trying to be like a traffic.
No, you're right.
I don't like those people parking there. I'm sorry for Yummies, like Yummies needs better parking, but I really don't like how like 4 or 5 cars will double park in there, especially when kids are riding back and forth to school and walking to school. So that was my one thought, just for your future consideration. And then the other thing, I know Jamie's coming on to talk about Boys and Girls Club, and I know we don't have someone in this role, but if there is consideration for some school traffic redesign, maybe this could be like a package deal for overall school safety. And if you're thinking about putting in a stop sign at Maya Comet Road and Surfside, and then you're doing the Boys and Girls Club and you have Maya Comet Ave, like these are all school safety concerns. And I would just love to see the town maybe consider doing a group deal. And that's all. Thank you for listening.
No, thank you for taking your time and caring, and we really appreciate it. I agree with you completely about that parking. So we will keep this on a radar and see if once we get some of the positions filled, perhaps it can hopefully make a list and keep it going. Thanks again. So anybody have anything further on that? We'll table it for right now, but okay, thanks. We have item 3 to review Boys and Girls Club request for signage, lights, etc., to improve the crossing from the school across Sparks Ave. Mr. Foster.
Hi, thank you. I'm the executive director at the Boys and Girls Club, and I just wanted to discuss the Sparks Ave School to Boys and Girls Club parking. We have now offered our parking spots to the high school because they don't have enough spots. So the children park in our lot during the day now. So they're here at 7 a.m. and there isn't a police kind of escort at that time. So I'm getting pretty nervous about the high school kids who don't look up from their cell phones to cross the road here. That's a whole nother issue. But between when school gets out, when we have summer camp here, and our teen population has grown. On Friday nights, we have about 120 teens. Most of them are coming from the high school practices at night and walking over to the club and leaving the club. And we have those temporary barriers, the signs that we put up, and talking with Cassie Thompson, she's replaced that twice in 6 months because a car has just destroyed it. So we currently don't have one right now. We're waiting for a new one to come in. So that's obviously not stopping people. I just feel like this could be, I feel like we could do something to this area before it turns into something tragic that, we'll look back on and say, why didn't we do something? So I just wanted maybe the town to take a closer look at that and see what other towns and facilities do for such a very high traffic area on a quite busy road. And in the summer, we know how people speed down that road pretty quick. And we did have a member get actually hit maybe 5 years ago. Thankfully, she wasn't injured, but and that's with a police detail there. So just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention.
Thanks, Jamie. I will note that we've been talking about a Sparks Ave project for a while now. There's also a major commercial development that's being proposed down by the Cumberland Farms. And one of the things I know I've been talking to one of the planning board members about is, what kind of road improvements they're gonna make as part of their development, if and when it's approved. And I think it would be good to, keep the club's comments and concerns at the front burner when we are having design discussions about that, for sure.
That's great. I just wanted it to be noted in that, hopefully we can get something done. And I'm petrified something's going to happen there, especially with the use of our lot now with the high school during the mornings I just want to get ahead of it before we see something tragic happen.
I wonder if, like in the previous conversation, those raised sections of the traffic calming, would it make sense to do the raised crosswalk in this area? Would that slow traffic down? I mean, similar idea.
I think it's worth discussing anything, and I think you kind of probably want to involve one of the town's consulting engineers on something like this. I think that past discussion, one of the concerns as we put the speed tables in is also fire, in terms of competing emergency response and ambulances and going to the hospital. We've talked about this spot for a lot of years, and doesn't make it so that we shouldn't talk about it anymore. I couldn't agree with you more. I share from, sitting in this role, absolutely share that concern. But I also am, I'm not sure what the solution there or improvement might be. I don't know if it's truly a solution, but we're open to any specific ideas. I think the signage is already there. Of course, signage tends to, be glazed over to some extent in general. But perhaps we have it as part of the overall Sparks Ave project as a scoping item. Is it possible? Does that happen in Erica through NPDC?
No, DPW has a design consultant that's been working on this, and I think yes, a little bit with NPDC, but I think DPW had been the driver with the design. So I can look into see who that is. I know I've got stuff on my computer. We had so many designers at one point working on different projects. I just need to confirm which one it was, and I can bring this to their attention as well.
That'd be great. Okay. Anybody else have anything further on that? Ray?
I did go and check the signage. The signage is good. The other thing is we actually went through twice the other day this week we've gone through twice around when the seniors are getting out, and they're crossing at 4 or 5 different spots from the high school driveway down, and not one of them is the crosswalk. So I don't know, and I know not, moving the crosswalk's not probably a good idea either. It's coming down that hill and everything else. It's probably at the best spot it is. So, I mean,
Maybe a message from the club saying if you're going to park here, we urge you to use the crosswalk or something.
it raises a good point. I wonder if some split rail fencing set off of the road a bit. There's a bit of a shoulder there, at least on the high school side. You know, what if there was, that, you leave the opening in the fence. It's not saying people are gonna hop a fence particularly, but again, it's typically path of least resistance, right? And if they can cut off at an angle and shorten their walk by 11 steps, they might do that. But if there's an opening in the fence, the 11 steps are up. I wonder if Erica, you could make note of that as something when they look at it. Perhaps we could, that's something that might be able to be just, I think, from the section where the crosswalk is to the high school driveway. If there maybe was a fence in that median between the road and the sidewalk, people might be less it might help direct the people to that crosswalk.
It's pretty narrow, but.
Yeah. And I know we don't want fences right up against the road and the shoulder, but again, just trying to think about, then that might give you somewhere you can put some reflectors. Just trying to think it through a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
they crossed the other day, they actually crossed right there and actually walked on the road along the guardrail on the other side, so that was even more dangerous.
Thank you, Mr. Foster, and please feel free to, reach out as needed. Any specific ideas or suggestions, we're certainly open to the input. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the review request, the change for the intersection, Maya Comet Road and Surfside Drive to a four-way stop.
I am gonna say that I didn't reach out to him. I meant to. I just got the
Let's
email
table
yesterday.
this on the same
Yeah.
reason as the other one. Okay, if nobody has any, I'll look for public comment on it. I'm not seeing any. We'll table that one. And then the no parking line across from 8 New Mill Street.
I don't see Linda on or Miss Basil. Todd Sherman, what are you on here for?
10 York, maybe?
I don't know. Anyway, I had definitely reached out to both Stephanie and Linda about this matter. But I mean, I can review it real quick. I gave you all the information. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of 10 York, 8 New Mill, no.
Ray?
Yeah, I do have some info if you want. I did go down and look at it, and where their driveway is, there's 36 feet between yellow lines. If we were to extend the rear line, would that be the southern line going up, you could extend it 16 feet and still retain a 20-foot spot. You'd be losing 16 feet of what's there now, but it's just ends, that one yellow line ends just before their driveway on the opposite side of the road.
Sorry, this is what they showed. The
Uh-huh.
highlights are where on-street parking is allowed.
Well, there's actually a yellow line. Yeah, you can see, on that other picture, you can see the yellow line. It reaches just probably behind that car, maybe a little bit further. It's literally right as their driveway starts on the opposite side. So
Is
like I
this
said,
their driveway here?
it's up a little further, I believe.
So here's
I think
the
it's by the
parking, here's the
telephone.
yellow line.
Yeah, that's the one further back. I think it's the one up there by that telephone pole.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're asking right here.
Yeah, and you can see where that yellow line is on the left where it ends. It actually ends right where their driveway starts. The next yellow line down, heading north it's 36 feet between yellow lines. So you have a 20-foot, usually a 20-foot spot for a vehicle. So you would still retain a full spot if you extended it past it or up to the end of their driveway. I think they're having a problem getting out when they're pulling out. They're not, if they were backing out, they're all set. The yellow line's fine, but I think they're pulling out There's been a vehicle backed in there.
Do we want to wait for representation on this, or is it, something that, having looked at it there, Ray, that you would suggest that elimination of the 60, extending the line 16 feet makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, every time we've been by there, there's a vehicle backed in there. I think they just redid their driveway. It's still in the same spot, but they redid it. And I can see how they would have a problem pulling straight out. If they backed in, they'd have a problem pulling out if there was a utility vehicle across, which I think she said in her email. So I mean, yeah, I think we could extend it to the end of her driveway. It might not even have to be a full 16 feet, but that's what I just went up and measured. And to the other end of their driveway is 16 feet. And then you'd still have a 20-foot spot between there and the next line.
Okay,
You wouldn't be losing a full spot, but 16 feet, 4 feet short of a full spot.
is there such a motion?
Wouldn't mind hearing from the representative what the real motivation here is. I mean, I guess it's pretty clear, but I'm just not clear on the details. If it could wait, I wouldn't mind.
You want to reach back out to America?
Yeah, I just texted Linda, but I haven't gotten a response.
Okay, well, we'll hold it to the next meeting then.
Okay,
Thanks. And then we have item 6, which I think we have to hold because I have to recuse myself and we wouldn't have a quorum.
okay.
And with that, any other business topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours? And approval of
Sorry, Mr. Sherman, what are you on for?
Item number 5, yeah, I think Linda was this for.
Oh,
Linda.
we were.
Okay,
calling
great.
him.
Okay, let's go back to that.
Sorry about that. I stepped away for a second.
8 North, so we were just, if you could explain to us, please, Mr. Sherman, why you feel this is needed.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. The driveway that you have circled there to the right, that's where we pull out of the driveway. That's our main driveway. And the car that you kind of see there circled as well is when it's there, we can't pull out of the driveway with the telephone pole and the car there. It's this we can't pull out. We're actually blocked in. So there was a yellow line that goes and then stops and then continues on. And we just wanted that line continued through so that car couldn't park there. We've talked to the person about not parking there. I think it's someone that lives on that street and for some reason just always parks there every year. I think we've looked at Google Maps for years and years, and it's always been parked there for whatever reason. So it's not like it's a local, person. So we just would like to be able to not have someone park right, right behind the driveway so we can pull the car out.
Okay. Anybody on work group, any comments? Mr. Rowland, does that address your?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it kind of clarifies a little bit, and I can if it's that difficult and Ray says we'll still have one parking space left, I don't have a real problem with this.
All right, so is there a motion to extend the yellow line approximately 16 feet to facilitate the access to the driveway at 8 North Mill, New Mill?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Mr. Rowland, how do you vote?
Aye.
Sylvia?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. So, Mr. Sherman, that goes as a recommendation to the town manager and then
Okay.
has to go to the select board.
Okay, I
Yeah.
appreciate your,
Okay,
thank you. Yeah,
thank you. Take care.
yeah, bye-bye. Thank you.
And then we'll get back to the draft minutes of October 20th. Anybody have any questions or concerns on those minutes? Hearing none, we'll consider those adopted by unanimous consent. And is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. Rowland, how do you vote?
Aye.
Sylvia?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you, Erica.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay.
Aye.